St. Cloud. And Jim joins us from Augusta National, where he's covering the Masters. Good morning, Jim.
Morning, Jay. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so we've got golfers that have to finish their first round, Tiger Woods being one of them. Do we got golfers on the course yet here in the, trying to complete their first round?
They are out there, and Tiger's one of them. Spieth's out there, Homa, and Højgaard, who's having a remarkable round. Danish golfer who has a chance if he birdied 18, he'd be in a tie for second. So he's in third place right now, and he's one of the surprises on the leaderboard. Of course, yesterday we had the two golfers that stood out who finished their rounds. DeChambeau shoots a 65 with a new swing, new irons, new body, and Scottie Scheffler positions himself perfectly with a 66, a stress-free 66, 0 bogeys, no bad shots. He's one off the lead, and I thought coming in, if he putted well, he would win, maybe win by 5, and he is positioned perfectly to do that.
So, Jim, what do you think about what you've saw from Tiger so far? 1 under par, he's seemingly hanging in there. What do you think? I mean, he said he thought he had 1 left in him. What do you think? Well,
so he's even par right now, and
he dropped 1. Okay,
and listen, there are two companion truths here. One is that what he's doing is amazing. He's 48 years old. He rarely plays competitive rounds, and he comes out here and he hits it great, and he has incredible hands. He hits beautiful shots around the greens. He still makes putts, and his body will not hold up to 4 rounds of golf. So making the cut, as he did last year before he had to withdraw in the 3rd round because of ailments, making the cut would be an incredible story. He's not going to win. He can't win. Making the cut would be an amazing story, and really almost indescribable. Tiger making the cut would be more of an achievement than Scheffler winning the Masters. Scheffler has everything he needs to win the Masters. Tiger Woods can't walk. He limps around the course. It's a ski slope course. So you're walking 5 miles of hills every day, plus hitting, taking 200, 300 swings, standing on your feet the whole day. It's going to wear him down. It just is. So, but the fact that he even is playing well through 1 round is an amazing achievement.
You bring up Scheffler. I mean, it just seems easy for him. I mean, he puts the ball right next to the hole. You mentioned that if he just putted better, he would just run away with it. And, he putted pretty good yesterday. Is Scheffler the guy to beat, even though he's a 1 shot behind DeChambeau?
He was the guy to beat yesterday. He's the guy to beat today. And unless he has a terrible round, he will be the guy to beat tomorrow and Sunday. Golf is hard, and it's not like picking between the Vikings and the Packers. Have a 50% chance of being right. Think of it this way: if a golfer's prime is like 22 to 40, right? So 18 years. If you win 1 major every 2 years, you would end up being one of the greatest golfers of all time. If you win 1 major a year, you would be Jack Nicklaus, the greatest golfer of all time. So winning majors is hard for even the greatest players. It just doesn't happen that often. But, man, has anybody ever been set up better to win this tournament than Scheffler right now, the way he's playing? The fact that, there's really nobody else on the leaderboard that would scare him at the moment. DeChambeau had a great round yesterday. And listen, I'll give him full credit if he holds up and wins this tournament. But Scheffler's a better player, and Scheffler has an easier time of it because he has such a natural swing. Again, I just go back. It's very simple. If Scheffler putts well, he'll win.
What do you think about, you look at some of the other guys near the top. Will Zalatoris, he's a guy that you mentioned. He's at 2 under par. He's been playing well. Eric Van Rooyen, he played at the University of Minnesota. He's at 1 under par.
Yep.
Are there guys that you're taking a look at that you're maybe going to follow around here today, see how they do?
Yesterday, I walked in 18 with Van Rooyen, and he at one point was at 4 under. And then the back 9 and the winds really got him. And that's another thing about this golf course is that if the winds are blowing the wrong direction, or if they're swirling, or if they're unpredictable, it really has an impact on you. He was playing great. He's at 4 under on the, I think, early in the back 9. And then he hit one of the water on 15, probably because of the wind. He made a couple of bogeys on difficult holes, and he just couldn't hold it together. But still, 1 under is a great position. And he's, it's fun to have someone with a local tie at this golf course. I always enjoy that. Zalatoris has all the talent in the world, hits it a mile, great competitor. He has a chance to be a top 10 this week. Some guys that are disappointing. Spieth is having a terrible first round. Thigala, who I thought had a chance, has played poorly so far. But it's golf. You just never know who's going to have it on a given week. McIlroy's at -1, well off the lead. And here's the thing. If DeChambeau and Scheffler come back to the field, then you have 30 people have a chance to win. If they keep playing the way they are, then it might be a duel down the stretch, just between those two.
Did you notice a lot of animosity or anything that, between live golfers and non-live golfers?
No. All that is really kind of over. First of all, these guys all live in the same golf communities, either in Arizona or Florida. It's like they're neighbors. Their wives are friends. So they had differences when live golfers, people first started living for live. There were players like Rory McIlroy who were offended, and they said it publicly, and there was a little bit of tension at the moment. But at this point, the PGA Tour is negotiating with live. How can PGA Tour players, listen, I'm sure there are PGA Tour players who think that Rahm sold out and that all those guys sold out. But at this point for them, it's an old story, and their own tour isn't shunning live, so it's like pointless to make a big deal out of it at this point.
Jim, let's touch on the Twins. They had their game rained out yesterday. They're going to play tonight against the Tigers at 5:40. Then they got a doubleheader tomorrow. Twins have been struggling for the most part. Byron Buxton has been, playing pretty consistently. You just haven't had that power yet. Your thoughts on the Twins trying to snap out of this and have a good series against the Tigers?
Well, what are they, 4-6? If they went 4-6 in any other 10-game stretch of the season, we'd barely notice. So it's not the record, it's not stats, it's trends. And right now they have key injuries. 4-6, you're kind of surviving when you have key injuries. They just need to take better bats with runners in scoring position. They need Wallner to get going, or they need to send him down and get him fixed. They need to get more offense out of third base, and they need. The end of the bullpen is held up really well without two of their best relievers. They should be getting Thielbar back here soon. So they kind of need to just kind of hang in there until they get Royce Lewis and their all-star closer back. And I think it's going to be a really good team. Right now, the obvious problem is the quality of the at-bats with runners in scoring position. Last year, they were terrible at that for half a year, and then they got really good at it for half a year, so it can turn around. But that's what they need to focus on right now.
And the expectation for Lewis and Duran is still at least a month?
I think it's the way they're talking about it, even though they won't put an exact timetable on it, I'm thinking mid-May.
Jim, as we get closer, we're now less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. You've been covering this quite a bit. Quarterback with either pick number 11 or 23. Is that likely, or do you still think that, you combine the two, try to move up and get that, either top 3 quarterback or J.J. McCarthy? Well,
as Quezzy kind of hinted, they're not going to tell you exactly what they're planning, but he kind of tried to give us some insight into what he's thinking. Basically, they got that. They wouldn't have traded for the second first-round pick unless they intended to move up and get a quarterback they like. That doesn't mean it's going to work out exactly the way they want. And it doesn't mean that the team they want to trade with is going to make a reasonable offer to them. So what they've done with that second pick is position themselves so, yes, they can trade up to 4 and get one of the top 4 quarterbacks. But if that doesn't work out, or if their internal evaluations indicate that, say, Penix or Nix is about as good as McCarthy, then they can go another way. So I do think they want to trade up, but now they have flexibility. They could take the best defensive player on the board at 11 and take Penix or Nix at 23. What's really key here is their internal evaluation of the top 6 quarterbacks, and they ain't going to tell us what that is right now.
Jim, the Timberwolves are going to play tonight at home against Atlanta, and then they got Phoenix at home on Sunday. Have you heard whether or not Karl Anthony Towns will play tonight or Sunday?
He's going to try to play tonight, which is a great sign. He could get 2 games in under his belt before the playoffs. Then he'll have a nice week of practice. after having some game tune-ups. This could be kind of an ideal thing for the Wolves. And by the way, I know you've asked me about tiebreakers, and sometimes I'm not up on it because I just don't pay much attention until we get really close. We're close now, so here's the deal. If they win 2 games, they clinch the 2 seed. If they win 2 games and Oklahoma City and Denver each lose 1, the Wolves are the number 1 seed. If it ends up being a 3-way tie between OKC, the Wolves, and Denver, OKC would be the number 1 seed. The Wolves would be the number 2 seed. If the Wolves tie with OKC, they have the tiebreaker. I guess the one thing I didn't look up is what happens if Denver and the Wolves tie. I guess I haven't looked up that one yet. And then here's the other thing, and one of the Wolves players said it the other day. There's almost a case to be made you'd rather be the 3 seed than the 2 seed. Because if you're the 1 or 2 seed, you're going to play a play-in team, and that means you would have to wait to see what happened before you could really start game planning for them. If you're the 3 seed, you know you're playing the 6 seed, and you spend all that time really game planning for one opponent.
All right, Jim, what do you got in your podcast?
Full Good Dawn of Sports with Tracy Perlman, WCCO executive producer, talking about women's sports and the Timberwolves. That's always fun. We'll be doing a chin music on baseball with Roy and Lavelle today. We have a good prep today with John Millay is out, and everything's at talknorth.com or on your favorite podcast app.
All right, Jim, thanks. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Have a good weekend.
Thanks. Great. Thanks, Jay.
It's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us every weekday morning at this time. Follow him on Twitter at SouhanStrib. Check out his latest column at Star Tribune or his podcast at talknorth.com. Jim, of course, covering the Masters in Augusta, Georgia. And Jim is brought to you by the Green Mill in downtown St. Cloud. News from ABC is coming up next.